Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, April 20th, 2026. I hereby call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. I'd ask everyone to please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, please do the roll call. Here.
Susan Mitchell.
Here.
Bonnie Takeuchi.
Here.
William Clark.
Here.
Robert Roach.
Here.
Rick Scanlon.
Here.
Jean-Michel Tijerina.
Here.
Kaylee Donnelly. Quorum is present.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're going to go right to public comment. There's obviously budget discussions going on, so we will intermix. Anybody who wants to speak about the budget or anything else in no particular order, please feel free to come up to the podium now. Please, in an orderly fashion, please don't run.
There might be another chance for public comment.
Yes.
Too, right?
If people are somehow getting this information, or if you ever email a question in, even past the time of public comment, we try to check, and even if you missed the portion, we'll still allow it, so to speak. Okay, so public comment, budget discussion. 3.3, budget discussion. Are there any motions on the floor or to be made?
Do we have to move to discuss?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying, does anybody want to propose anything just out there? Okay, who wants to start the discussion?
Okay, I just want to start with a comment. I think, and I take full responsibility for this, I think I created some confusion on Friday when I was talking about two lists. I was calling them in my shorthand Jeff's list and Chris's list. Just to be clear, that is just an artifact of the reality that we are all sort of keeping track of what's happening and moving quickly, as this is a very busy and difficult process. And the two lists just represented almost entirely things that we had already discussed publicly and which we had agreed upon, but there just wasn't an opportunity for them to be collated before the meeting. So it's not as if there are two separate sets of proposals floating around. It's not as if there's members of the board that are generating independent lists. This was just a matter of how we were organizing a very complicated process. So just to clear up any confusion, there is essentially one list. It was just on two pieces of paper, one of which was handed to me at the beginning of the meeting by Jeff, and one of which was handed to me at the beginning of the meeting by Chris. So I was calling them Chris's list and Jeff's list. So I just wanted to clear that up. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say about the budget? Any ideas, any proposals, any thoughts? Or should we move on in the agenda?
What tax rate are we going down to at this point?
No one's proposed one yet.
2.5.
Well, I shouldn't say that. We've had dozens of proposals over the last several weeks. You know, we've in private side conversations and in public, we've had multiple numbers, but no one's actually officially proposed a number. So I'm not sure how you're asking that question. We do have to pick a number by midnight tomorrow. That would be a little cutting it close. Jeff's looking at me right away, but
Gary, as the song goes, tonight is the night.
right. So that's why I'm putting it out there, leading to see what the consensus is. I wasn't here in person on Friday, although I followed that entire meeting. I believe what the consensus is, but I put it out there to the floor for someone to make a proposal.
So I will say there are a not insignificant number of constituents who are insistent on 0% increase. I just want to let you know that that is a real number that people think, they believe that number.
Are
It
you
might be a negotiation, possibly, right? But
are you making that as a motion, that to propose that as the tax increase?
I think it's too aggressive.
Can you say
Yeah.
that louder?
I say it's too aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear you.
Yeah. No.
So we still have no proposals
but-
on the
but-
table.
I mean, I think 2.5 might be a feasible number to look at. I think Jeff might have a way to wrap his mind about what that number might look like, or
Well, if we have no, you want to make that as a proposal, or you want to talk about
Yeah,
things first?
let's see. Yeah, I mean, whenever the time is right, let's look at what 2.5 to say 2.9 would be.
Is that a question? I think that might be a question for you.
Sure. In your packets tonight, I've got a second version of the superintendent's recommended budget. You'll see two pieces of paper. One is revenue, and the other one is the expenditures, other, I should say, the adjustments to the expenditure budget, which we have reviewed in detail. So we got news from the assessor's office. We originally had put in a certain number for the assessments. Unfortunately, we got, today we were notified that there was a tax cert filed and millennial pipeline. And so it brought our assessment roll, our tentative assessment roll down a little bit. So the sheet you saw on Friday, we had at 2.5. This one is at 2.93. So I know that there were certain board members kicking around on Friday that 2.9 might be acceptable. So we can adjust it in our conversations. So there was an adjustment to the estimated tax assessment roll. So that's where we are right now, 2.93. We've been working fast and furiously. We've got a significant number of reductions that were agreed to together. And at this juncture, we've reduced the budget by $893,000. And we are, to get, to get to the numbers here, the 2.93, we just have to get another $50,000. And there's still a few items that we're investigating. If you see at the bottom of the page on the recommended expenditures, everyone see down there, we're looking at certain items that were recommended and we're still either being negotiated or looked into with BOCES, getting proposals from BOCES and vendors. And there's also the fact or the matter of the state budget. So we may be getting some additional state aid, but we won't know that until after the legislature and the governor come together. So that's a possibility as well. So we have about $50,000 to get to our 293. And I will say in this revenue estimate, you'll notice that the appropriated fund balance is no longer $500,000. In this proposal, it's $380, which will reduce by $120,000 because what we're trying to do is balance the budget. That's the goal, is to eventually have no appropriated fund balance. So with that, we'll take whatever questions or comments that you have. I will say this: we have to adopt an aggregate budget number tomorrow night. We have until I think it's April 30th. Is it, Walter? April 30th to prepare the line item budget. So if there are some tweaks that we want to make, we can do that through the 30th. And we have the availability to adjust the property tax report card, which tomorrow night you'll be adopting and will be sent up to the state, but we can amend that at a future date if we have to. So we do have some flexibility. And remember that if there's anything that we do that we're not crazy about, even after that date, the board can do budget transfers in the future to switch monies around to where they feel it best. And this is was a difficult year and a difficult process because we had a failed budget last year and because of the significant, perfect storm conditions we had this year. So this was a very, very difficult year to prepare a budget. And we're sliding into home right now. So that's the rationale for a number of these items. So with that, anybody have anything they want to talk about? Any questions, comments, concerns?
I do.
So from the on Friday, we had this.
Yes.
And now we have this one. Can you just go through what's the differences between the two lists?
So if you look on the final number column, which is to the right, the last column of numbers to the right,
Which sheet you looking at first?
this one?
The black and white,
Yeah,
Gary.
it's the same type of sheet, but it's just like,
No, but
it's been
we just got two
updated.
sheets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we'll call,
Yeah, I don't have,
Christine
I was
gave
in the
it to
car,
me.
so I don't have it.
Okay.
But
So I just
understand,
wanted
but-
to know, like, what are the updates
no, I
that were
meant
made?
Of the ones we got tonight.
I'll see if I have an extra one for you, Gary.
That's fine. I was following the whole time.
Oh, you good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, so this column combines a number of things we were talking about last week. It just adds some of the things that were not on the adjustments from last week. Susan, we were discussing some things, and the board had wanted to add some. We were in agreement on that. So we added certain, like, club things in there, certain items in there that weren't on Friday or on here now, which were those items that were requested to be. And that totals to 893, and our goal is 957, so we're about $50,000 short. And I'm confident that in the things that we've got that are still under consideration, that we will definitely get there.
I just wanted to make the point that I think it is helpful to have a goal for a tax rate, but I don't want to be too married to a goal for a tax rate because we also need to take into consideration what we're cutting and the long-term sustainability and advisability of making those cuts. So I don't want to be wedded to a 2.9% tax rate if that means cutting crucial programming that, say, a 3.2% tax rate would permit us to keep. So I just want to put that out there as my personal position.
This is a proposal, just to start the conversation. And another area that we could go is, as I said, we're trying to balance the budget. Gary, when we started together, I think it was in the 800 range where a fund balance was appropriated to balance the budget. We knocked it down to
790 something.
about 800, yeah.
Mhm.
And it was knocked down to 500. It would be nice to keep getting it down until it's balanced, but we can always put that back up to 500 if the board chooses.
Where has it been for the past 4 or 5 years, Jeff?
Budgeted 500. Last year was 790 because of the contingency budget,
Okay.
but typically it's about $500,000.
Or it has been for 4 or 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And before that, it was, as you say, 790.
790, I think was the number that I saw.
So it would be nice to balance the budget, but that's another area to go. So whatever the board decides, we will make that happen. So if you want to go a little higher on the tax rate, we can. If you want to drop the appropriated fund balance, we could do that. Or we can continue with some of the budget reductions. As we mentioned, we had made a proposal to the union for clubs and athletics for the stipends. So we're waiting to hear back from them. And like I said,
Sorry, when was that sent to the union?
sorry?
When was that sent to the union?
I sent it to the attorney on Friday. I guess he had some questions, which I didn't realize, and we discussed it again today, and I believe he shipped it out today.
When is the last time we had a balanced budget? Does anybody recall? Where we actually, counting state aid, but without using our reserves, when's the last time we had a balanced budget? I don't recall one in the last 10 years.
Not recall at least 6, 7 years. 8 years.
So just to be clear, we're closer to being balanced than we have in a long time, but we haven't had a balanced budget in my recollection in a decade.
Correct.
My recollection only goes back a decade. I'm not saying it was balanced 10 years ago.
Right.
I don't recall one ever being balanced.
When we started on the board, when you started on the board and I started with the district, we were aiming to get it down to as close to zero as possible. We've made some progress. This would be great to move the ball a little further, because it would be terrific, especially until the development materializes fully and the enrollment materializes. It would be great. It's always good to have a balanced budget anyway, but especially in these conditions, it'd be great to have a balanced budget.
So setting aside the contingency budget year, which I think is this year, which is a different year for various reasons, if we were to stay at 380,000, would that be a reduction in the deficit spend compared to the prior, say, 2, 3, 4 years, taking out this year?
Yes,
Okay.
Like, so
just
we're
understanding.
closer
Yeah.
to a balanced budget than
Okay.
ever before.
Okay, got it.
and
Thank
that
you.
should definitely be one of our goals.
Not sure if it's the year to be doing it, but okay.
And if that's the choice of the board, we can certainly, as I said, an option, we can always put it back up to 5.
Now, just out of curiosity, have we heard anything about the assessments from the reserve coming in this year? I know,
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning before, Will. We had used an estimated number in there. The assessor was just finishing up this weekend, and there was a computer glitch, so they finished today. And as I said, we were on target, and then the millennial pipeline cert
millennial
happened,
pipeline
so
coming up.
it brought it down a little bit, which brought this up a little, the tax rate up a little bit. So
and that's based on a sale of how many homes? Did he give you a number on
I
the
don't remember
that
how
were
many homes he
based on?
sold. Yeah, he was
Just because I'm thinking projecting going forward,
yeah.
you know,
Well-
what we might ballpark next year.
Well, I do have the build out schedule. It's probably 6 or 7 months old. I'll go over it with Lennar again. Critical thing is once the assessor gets this finished, we can go over the build out schedule together. We can monetize what that's going to be in tax assessments, hopefully for the next 5 to 7 years.
Right.
And with that, if we can get a demographic study, we can really do at least a 5-year plan, financial plan,
Yeah.
which is what we really need right now because we don't have that information. We are flying a little blind in terms of the future.
But that's coming soon too. The information should be, you know,
Yeah. It's
should
going to
be
take,
here, you know,
yeah,
hopefully in the next couple
hopefully
of
over the
months.
summer, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get that done.
So Jeff, I'm just trying to understand the updated chart. I see a number of items, 1, 2, 3, like maybe 10, slightly fewer, where there's a number under final number column, but not under savings amount or recommendation. Have those savings been included in your calculation or no?
Yes. Yeah, the final number, I guess we shouldn't call it the final, but the current number it tallies up to the 893.
So that's everything.
We discussed as of Friday, right?
Yeah, okay. So including middle school interact,
Yes,
Safe School Ambassador, Chess Gaming Club. Okay.
correct.
Because I'm also seeing some items on here that I don't know that there was agreement on Friday. So I'm just wondering,
Well, if there's room for change. If we misheard or whatever, we can certainly change whatever items on here that you want to change.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Can we start talking a little bit about the
Yeah.
middle school extracurriculars? Because we had clubs. When we were talking about them last, I was concerned that we wanted to make sure that they had enough. And it looks like we're potentially cutting. It looks like they have 3 things. They have student council. They have, 4. They have the play, they have student council, they have interact, and they have National Junior Honor Society. And it looks like on here, we're potentially cutting National Junior Honor Society as well as interact. That leaves them, and the play.
One play.
One play.
The discussion I recall on Friday was we're going to go from 2 to 1.
So would it be which play are we, I'm very concerned that we're cutting too much from the middle school. So, I think we need to think carefully about that.
Sure. Again, everything on here was the best of our recollection from Friday. We've been working furiously, so if we misheard anything or if there are any mistakes, we're happy to make changes. If we, put something on here you didn't want on here, or if we left something off that you wanted on here, we can certainly make that adjustment.
I think we just didn't finish the discussion. It wasn't like that there was something on here that we didn't talk about. I think we had started talking about that, but we never really came to a consensus, like, are we going to keep some of these things and, just what, isn't it important that they have a full selection of things? They only have so few,
I'm in agreement. What I tried to do is come up with 3 columns: high school, middle school, and elementary school, and list what clubs, are under each umbrella, and then try to come up with some sort of equity among the elementary school, middle school, and high school in terms of offerings that they may have. I'm not there yet because I don't know all of the clubs that are functioning. I didn't have time to enter all the data onto my handwritten chart here, but I think that it's important that we try to balance it out.
So based on just adding it up, it looks like if you took everything from the merging or eliminating NJHS through the play, excluding the chess and gaming club, and added those together, you'd get about $19,719 in savings. So all of those middle school activities plus the play come to $19,719. So I think that's something to consider. At the end of the day, that's not a ton of money, and it represents a significant portion of the opportunities available to the middle school kids. So I just put that out there.
Mr. Kmart and Ms. Park, is the chess club middle school and high school?
Yeah, I believe there are students from both that are in that club. That was a new club that was added this year.
Thank you.
And for either Principal Kmar or Principal Park, I'm not sure who would comment on this. Can you comment on the impact of eliminating Junior Honor Society, Middle School Interact, and one of the plays, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that was part of the debate of the board at one point. You have typically more clubs at the high school, less at the middle school, less at the elementary, but you want offerings that, reflective of your curriculum and have support or add enrichment opportunities. At one point, there was debate about the literacy math club at the elementary. I think that is not in play at this point. It's our concern of really the only club left there. Play does offer the opportunity, you would have to, with the advisors on what the grades look like, where you could have some elementary, middle, and high school grades in there. Pick the production that would satisfy that.
I guess just from your perspective as educators, do these cuts go too deeply? Are they reasonable? Because what money is one thing, education's another. Hopefully they align, sometimes they don't. But I'm just curious from your perspective as educators about these cuts.
Yeah, it definitely causes some limit at the middle school. I think maybe part of the greater conversation, if there was an amount arrived at, perhaps we could. I know there's a proposal to the TTA, maybe for a year, there might be agreement to look at ways to structure or organize that so that, for example, if I ran a club, maybe instead of it being one club at the high school, I do partial high school, partial middle. There might be some wiggle room, but that would take some further collaboration to try to arrive there. I wouldn't want to, speak on behalf of either side, but that's the work ahead of us. That's impact for certain.
Okay.
Right. Sorry if I'm not giving a definitive answer.
No,
Yeah.
I'd also just like to comment on the Safe School Ambassador program, being that it's new and that the kids, have been selected and already trained for it. To cut that program in half, by cutting one advisor, you'd have to cut 10 kids that have already been, working towards learning what that role is in the school. And I think it's really important that we give the program a chance to take off before we start cutting it. especially since those kids, for some of them, it means a lot. You know, it really means a lot to them that they were selected for this important type of leadership role. If there was any way that we could, again, like maybe make it a half-year program or something, cut it in a different way so that the students that were selected could still participate, I would really like to see that.
I agree, and I would want to see it run completely throughout the year. These students have been trained, and I think we have to give it time to bear fruit. Do we have a figure on the water coolers?
$940.33.
A month?
I think that's 4 of them, right, Walter?
But that's half.
Well, that's a club.
Done. $100,000.
That's, I mean, really, the math and reading club is, it's the same. So I'd rather have a club than water cooler.
Yep. You gonna speak for this, or-
Also on the list that we had, I thought, come to an agreement that we were thinking more of a less significant cut for the elementary music program to a 0.6, but I don't see that reflected on the updated chart.
We could do 0.5 or 0.55, 0.6 is benefits.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, once you hit 0.6 and above, it's benefits.
So what would be the difference in numbers?
Walter, do you have that?
And then I had a question about 18. We talked about this a lot on
Well,
Friday.
do you want us to answer the other one first?
Oh, I was just waiting. I didn't know if Walter was going to be able to look right away.
Do you need a couple minutes? Walter, I'll take the other question for,
Oh, okay.
The savings at a 0.6 would be $40,333. 0.6.
versus 63, right?
Is that the music box?
Yes. I think the likelihood, though, that someone is going to remain in that position, given that cut, is not high, and that if we lose that person, that it's going to be very difficult to hire somebody at a 0.5. I think 0.6 is much more.
Well, if you remember, there's we're trying to partner with TPS on that position.
I do. Yeah.
Yep.
So is TPS committing to giving them benefits?
We want to talk to the music teacher, and then we're going to call them, but they had reached out a couple times and told us they definitely were interested in doing that with us. Yep. I've got a couple emails from them.
For the benefits, not for the point.
Oh, I don't know about that. We have to talk to them about that. Yeah.
Right. I think one of the places has to give the benefits.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out what they're willing to do.
So my next question was about line 18, which we had talked a lot about on Friday, and I thought that we were looking for additional information because I know that there was some discussion of that is reducing the high school tech teacher to 0.5 through attrition. And if I'm reading this recommendation correctly, it's suggesting that the 1.0 tech teacher will be replaced by a 0.5 tech teacher. But
That's
I
right.
also understood that there was some proposal that would allow a current teacher who's credentialed in technology to assume those responsibilities so that we could recognize a full savings of that full salary as opposed to trying to hire a 0.5 tech teacher. Did we make any progress in that conversation?
We did.
What's the outcome?
Well, we looked at all the proposals, and our proposal is more savings to the district. We realigned staff a little bit differently than the other proposal you saw, and we have the .5 tech teacher as a hire, and the other proposal has somebody else as a hire. So it's just a hire in a different spot.
I didn't follow that.
Where was the other hire in the other proposal?
Jared, do you recall where the other hire was? Yeah, the question was, why didn't we backfill the tech position? And why are we hiring an outsider in the tech position? And I said that we have a new hire there, but the other proposal had a hire in another spot. What was the other spot?
There was a total reduction of 3.6 FTEs, and
In the administrative proposal.
correct. Where in the other proposal, there it was, I think it came out to about 2.9 in FTE. So there was just a difference in the juggling of where staff would be placed. And that becomes then like a scheduling discussion. So for the .5 with the tech ed, I think there was a proposal to move a special education teacher duly certified into that role, where I think we envision some different things happening with, without getting too far into the weeds of it, with our special ed allocations for GGM, because we have a 1.0 retiree FTE at the elementary level, and we had a different configuration that we thought would be best suited to support our special ed program. So at any way you cut it, you needed to hire a .5, whether it was on the special ed side of things or on the tech ed side of things, based on what we had configured. That also entailed in the other proposal, a full reduction to the a portion of the AIS program, GGM, which in your proposal we wanted to keep.
I don't recall seeing in the other plan any addition of hiring anyone in addition in the TTA plan.
Yeah, I thought it was a wash.
I thought it was a wash as well. I thought we discussed at the last meeting putting them side by side so we could actually visually see exactly what the changes were being done. It would make it a lot easier if we could see, what was changing to what.
Yeah, we asked the TTA to come up with savings. They came up with a lot of savings. I don't think we have fully explored and discussed I'm not sure what to call it. Clearly, them giving up benefits, them giving up the supplies that they think they need. We asked them to look where they think the budget could be cut for everybody. I don't think we fully explored what I thought was a wash. And I'll preface that by saying, or follow it up by saying, when we put the collaborative list together, the board as a group came up with 103 items. 6 of them were mine. 97 of them weren't mine. Since we've been doing this collaboratively I've agreed with some of yours, some of yours, some of yours, some of yours, some of everybody's. But 2 things I really latched on to Bronwyn's, sorry to put you on the spot, was I am deathly afraid of any positions that are cut to points. I call that a point reduction, whether it's music, I don't want to cut music anyway, whether it's guidance, I don't want to cut, I think we need more guidance, not less. But regardless of those 2 specific positions, I'm deathly afraid of anything that we cut. We've tried this before and come up empty. We're going to lose people, not replace people, and that will be devastating to programs. So I think as a board, one topic I want to discuss a little more is the TTA staff proposal, and that hand in hand with what would be the effect of any point reductions. I'm not talking about club point reductions. I'm talking about guidance, music, and other teachers. The second thing that I kind of agree with Bronwyn is one of the largest, we keep overlooking, one of the largest savings would be not replacing one of our 4 administrators, specifically because we have people leaving, not replacing the principal. I think that is such a large number. I don't know why we're not talking about that more. I think looked like somebody over there wanted to say something.
Yeah, that was $240,000,
Which?
for the high school principal. So, I think that we had made some, possible, we had started to dig away at that a little bit, but, $249,000, the number there.
I mean, just to cut you off, we're talking about less than $2,000 for a safe school ambassador, and this is like 150 times that.
Yep.
So we're spending an hour talking about safe school, and I don't want to cut that either. I agree with you on that.
And I'm sure
Don't-
some
we're
of
not
that would
talking
have
about
to
the
be
big
given
numbers.
back if you were gonna, hire people, as support. So it's not a completely clean number, but, $249,000 goes a long way to plugging holes.
And that's because you're talking about people leaving the district. Well, you've got 2 administrators leaving the district. So, you also want to consider that. These are the folks that run the buildings, they're the leaders. So, it seems, aren't you concerned about the turnover in the administration as well?
I am very concerned about
Okay.
turnover in administration.
So that's why
Believe you me.
that's being considered. So
Yeah.
it's also a big consideration.
I know that we did bring that up as a significant cost savings. I do have significant reservations with 2 principals leaving and not replacing them because
The proposal was one.
no, I know,
Right.
but just I think if it was one principal leaving, I would be more in favor of having a shared superintendent principal, but to have 2, it's just I think the responsibilities on the superintendent position are gonna increase, having one new principal. I think it's just gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot and potentially, harmful to the students because it's not just about money.
I
I
totally
couldn't agree with you.
agree with
agree with
everything
you.
you said, but
Couldn't
unfortunately,
agree more.
everything we've gotten, whether it's $250,000 or $1,700, it's going to affect the kids. So, I mean, I agree with you in theory, but that money is just too large to not discuss more.
Yep. And I do believe that there's supports that could be added, student pupil services has been done before. We could get very talented people in here to aid, the transition. And it doesn't have to be a model that's embraced permanently. We're looking at really getting over the hump here for 1 year, and then I would probably suggest, if I'm here or not, to, reevaluate that and look for maybe a K-12. It's just that we're under the gun right now significantly. And this
So-
would free up that capital that we could get so much back.
So would some of these cuts that we've recommended
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, we're
The
going,
administration, just so everybody knows, was significantly cut already. HR has been reduced. We don't have a pupil personnel services. Our transportation director left. We don't have a director of technology anymore. We don't have a food service manager. And all that has had to been absorbed by the current administration. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation as well. We've got 2 new people coming on board. I just think that at some point it's being considered. However, you also have to consider as well that it could be quite overwhelming and may not be doable. So it's just something that we have to both consider both ways.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's always a chance.
Worth a shot.
Mhm. So a couple of things under consideration.
I'd like to know what people that haven't spoken on this topic yet.
So
Bonnie Broadwood, Jean-Michel.
on the principles, are you, is this the conversation we're exploring if Jeff would take over one of the principal positions?
I don't know who else could do it, but that's a question. But my point is,
There's no one else left.
the law. I'm not sure. I think we're not. Don't take this the wrong way, but I think we're stuck with him because legally and practically, if there's another solution, I'm looking at it from the budget stuff. We're spending hours talking about $1,000 here, but we can save $250,000, $250,000 with this one thing. And I don't think we've discussed it enough. I'm definitely for it. People haven't convinced me otherwise. I think we need to discuss that 100 times more than we're discussing $1,000 cut.
I don't think it's reasonable in any way to ask Jeff to take a principal's position on top of the very stressful job he has right now. He's working probably 80, 90, 100 hours a week at this rate. I think that's completely unrealistic.
Jared did it for a number of months,
Jared's a different person.
and he did a great job.
And Jared's leaving.
And Jeff has a lot more experience, so you would think it would be a lot easier for
Yeah.
him to.
And we're asking 100 hours a week to work up from him to work to do what he's providing right now.
And we also have construction going on as well, as people can see.
Would it be inappropriate to ask for feedback from Jared on what, that was a short period of time. Does he think that's sustainable for a whole year? And how would that impact the school?
I think that's wonderful. Susan, remember too, we're talking about augmenting that position with
Okay,
with
and
another
we
admin.
provided that option also for Jared. He had augmentation. He had a,
Cogliano was here on a regular
yeah.
basis.
Jared, would you feel comfortable commenting on that?
I
No.
think-
Okay,
I-
I don't blame you.
I would like that information, but I think that's putting Jared on the spot. So I just want to give him the option if he wants to say something crazy, super brief or not. Totally up to you, Jared. I just don't want to put him on the
I
spot.
understand. But we know, it's been tried and it has potential negative, it could have a potential negative impact on the person doing it as well as the school.
Agreed, but at that point, we were doing it for different reasons. The support was different. At this time, we would have more time to organize support for if somebody was to wear two hats and there's a new principal, support for both, which last time we didn't have time to prepare. And also, just again, the money does matter. We can get all these things back in, boom. All the things that we'd spent hours and hours and hours discussing. Altogether, they're $25,000.
We wouldn't have to cut any of them.
Would have to cut any of them, and we're over our mark, and boom, we're good to go.
It's not just two hats. As I said before, there's no human resources anymore. There's no PPS. There's no transportation director. There's no food service manager.
If we,
And there's construction going on. We have a new business official I'm mentoring. I'll have to work with people who are Mike could be familiar with the place, but someone else wouldn't be. And mistakes at this level aren't going to cost $5,000 or $10,000. They could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I understand what you're saying. I understand where you're going. There are other positions within the budget that you're unwilling to reduce that may be underutilized as opposed to overutilizing another resource. So there's just things that you need to consider just beyond, here's a dollar amount, here's two vacancies, let's have this person take over that. It's not as simple as you make it sound.
Well, as an
I
alternative.
agree that it would be difficult. I agree with everything you said, but we've been talking about budget for hours and hours over weeks and days, and we're still not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking for big savings.
Yeah.
Well, we have some potentials here.
And there is,
Some are being negotiated right now and are being looked into. So there is
the
possibility of
PPS
getting
thing would
the difference.
probably be where your augmentation would come back in from. So that would be, I think, a big bolstering to the principal.
We can't, I asked for some information about the contracts that have not been worked out yet, finalized yet, but are being proposed to the interim principals, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yes, I think I provided that
You did.
information earlier.
And those people for working, if I did the math right, for working 180 days would be getting more than somebody that we now employ as a principal for working the entire year. So my suggestion,
Not necessarily, no.
well, I guess maybe you're going to say because of the benefits, but
Not only the benefits, the rate of
Let me-
pay is going to be $180,000 annualized, but we'll only be paying $150 for 10 months. And our current administrator, our current high school principal makes more than that.
right, but the elementary does
Makes
not.
less, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so in long-range planning, wouldn't it be more prudent that we try to bring, if we're gonna have one interim, have one person who's on a career path, rather than next year we have turnover again of 2 administrators? I put together a little cheat sheet here. The turnover of administrators in this district is off the charts. And we need to start building people in who are going to stay and bring programs to fruition. And that's, you talk about long-range planning, that's big for me in long-range planning. So
Bonnie, can I cut you off a second? You guys came after the public speaking portion. Did any of you want to speak? Okay, that's fine. Just want to make sure.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry, Bonnie.
Well, I'm just trying to make the point that we might want to try to hire, if we go that route, hire one of the people as interim and one of the people as a full-time, hopefully, on a tenure track or whatever, because that to me is better planning for the
And
district.
grow organically from inside the organization.
That would be great.
I think that's, should be certainly considered. We might be putting the cart in front of the jackass for a second, but, it should definitely be considered before we start throwing things around. But $150,000 is also a lot, when we're talking about a public that has been pretty vocal about saying that we're a little top heavy. This is, another organic opportunity to sort of right things a little bit. So I don't think it's it's not an optimum model. There's no doubt about it. But like I said on Friday, a lot of people in my neighborhood are on fixed incomes. They're working on Social Security, and they have a hard time with some of the numbers, and I get it. So I try and explain to them it's really for the benefit of the school, but so this is an opportunity.
I think part of the difficulty is the board can can propose a solution, but ultimately it has to be one that is picked up and done so willingly and with the sense that it's accomplishable and doable. And if that's not where we are, it's not something that can be coerced or forced into being. And so I wonder if we're maybe just spinning our wheels having this conversation. If there's not a willing party on the other side for good or bad reasons, like let's just grant totally good reasons, because I think there are good reasons, right? Nobody's saying this would be an easy job or a pleasant job to do both. So grant that there's good reasons not to do it. If it doesn't want to get done, what are we doing here? Let's move on.
Well, that's what I'm trying to convince Jeff, that this would be extremely difficult, but like we're telling everybody else in what started as 103 items, only for 1 year. Think of how easy 27 to 28 would be when this is all behind you. We're just looking for 1 year with extra support. The one new principal gets extra support for 1 year, then it's all behind you. You can be a hero, and then we're saving $250,000. We don't have to talk about
Well,
chess clubs or interact clubs.
probably 150, 160. That's a big saving.
Should we be moving into executive session? I feel like this is really putting a lot of pressure publicly on someone that's
Well,
not fair.
Not sure. It's up
Well,
to the board
I
if
mean-
they want to go to executive session.
I would
We were told
recommend,
by our council that we had to discuss items
I
in
would
public.
I would recommend that that all these items are being considered. There's a whole list of still under consideration items. So if there's no additional items that you want to add, or if there's items you don't want to pull off, what I would suggest is tomorrow night we have to
I'm
adopt
gonna
a budget.
discuss-
So what we might want to do is we might want to come up with, what are we happy with a tax rate? What are we happy with a fund balance appropriation, and start from there. I think that would be a lot more productive.
And no one's, just to be clear, no one's proposed a number yet, so someone should propose, I suggest, that soon someone propose a number, so we can then debate it.
I did.
But yeah, but I meant a board member as a.
Sure.
But it's still, are we ready to move on this? Do you want to hold off? Do you want to
Well,
hold off
I-
further
I-
discussion
one
until
quick item
executive
here
session?
that I would like taken off of this, because I'm not going to be entertaining it myself.
Well, hold on, I just want to make sure about, before we move on to the topic, you were concerned about saying certain things in public. Do you want to reserve further topic of the two hats proposal until executive session?
I do, yeah.
Okay, I'm just clear.
Can we do that legally?
I think it depends what we do discuss.
Personnel items can be discussed in executive
Yes,
session. of
I think
course.
we're okay. I
We're
think,
talking about budget reductions.
Mhm.
There's a difference between that and a contract and a personal.
Gotcha.
Invitation.
Well, I mean, we're talking hypotheticals.
Correct.
so.
Going back, didn't he make a suggestion of 2
I
point?
made a tax rate suggestion to explore as a board, 2.5 to 2.9. I can also say that in the same vein of constituents proposing a 0% tax rate, the same people would like a budget at $15 million.
okay, so hold on for
That's-
one
that's a
second, because
lot.
I think we cut Will off. I'll come back to you in a moment. Will, you were going to say
Well, I
something.
was going to finish up with the list here because there's a couple of things I just wanted to me are non-starters. And, the 8B here for the guidance at, 0.6, I'm not willing to accept that. That remains for me at a 1.0.
I agree with you on that
So
one.
I'm not, if you'd like to take a vote on that, that would be good. I can make a motion. But I'm not going to get on that road. Something that didn't make it on here that was mentioned Friday that I'm also not willing to talk about is outsourcing our school psychologist. I think that is a horrid idea. We wrapped up on that. We need to keep these people under our umbrella and in our house. These are essential services, guidance as well, especially the school psychologist. They need to be monitored. They need to work with us. They need to work with our parents. I can tell you that TPS, I'm sure, is very happy that we've been moving in the right direction because, these are shared services with them. So the closer we have a relationship with our CSPE chair and school psychologist, the closer we are to moving our students forward.
Where's it on this list?
It was not on this list. It was
you're
mentioned
saying-
at the
right,
end
so
of
you're just saying
Friday's
keep it off.
meeting. I feel the same about that as I do the counselor. To me, it's a non-starter.
Yeah, the psychologist was just mentioned as an item. It wasn't added to any list.
I agree, and I agree with you on that
So,
one as well.
Going back to 8B, for me, it's a 1.0, and I'm not talking about the school psychologist either. So,
Anything else on this list? Because that was the topic of discussion.
Should we,
To go back to the TTA, the savings was $416,000. There was no adding any staff to fill in for any of those spots.
And the way it was explained to me was that they know who has certifications in which subjects, and that was taking all that into consideration.
Correct.
So it wasn't like it wasn't like a wish, we hope we can do this. They think legally that could be the plan.
It should be at least reviewed,
Okay.
or at least analyzed.
And-
So
and
there was
also
there was no additional add in that plan.
Well, how is that consistent? So I just don't understand, right? Because it's complicated. I'm going to be guided by Jeff and Jared if they say that the plan in fact does result in a smaller reduction in positions. How do I square those two things? Like those are two incompatible statements. So which one is correct? Jared?
Can you clarify for me, Bronwyn?
So okay, one I'm hearing Chris say that the TTA plan results in $400,000 worth of savings and no additional positions being added. And then if I understood you correctly,
Or cut.
or cut,
Or
yeah.
like,
And if I understood you correctly a little bit ago, you said that the administrative plan results in 3.6 FTEs leaving as opposed to 2.9 FTEs, where there's a difference of 0.5. So to me, those two statements are incompatible, and I don't know how to tell which one is accurate. So can you explain it to me?
Yeah, I think they're both accurate. I think Jeff probably has the numbers at his fingertips up there. I
424,356 is the savings on the administrative plan, and 416,200 is the TTA plan. So the administrative one has more of a savings.
and both
But cuts
plans,
people.
yeah, quite creatively looked at when you have attrition, retirees, how you can then backfill that without hiring out. So the models just have different ways to land there, resulting in a net of 2.9 versus 3.6.
And when you made the administrative models, I'm assuming it was you and Jenna and Jeff together,
And Walter,
and Walter. Sorry, Walter, probably in every meeting.
we're a team, yes.
The considerations were what's best, who can best fill the roles pedagogically, and sort of how do you,
Yes.
that's, okay.
What we feel is best educationally, and while we appreciate the TTA's recommendation, scheduling is most appropriately done by the administration. Even the attorney had mentioned to you about conflicts of interest. So we stand by what we've done, and we believe the scheduling should be done by the administration, and I think you all agreed to that.
And what reduction in electives would your plan offer as opposed to the TTA plan?
The number of electives, Jared, do you remember that number? Plan to plan?
The total number of electives?
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head.
I think
Yeah.
we got to look at that, because that was part of the reason I liked that plan. Was less electives were cut.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a conversation that we're trying to cut program. First off, we don't want to cut anything. But you have to consider, do we have the enrollment to sustain the number of electives that we have? And there comes a point where there's too few kids in a classroom where it's the law of diminishing returns. So what we'd like to do is try to get more kids in the same class to improve the educational experience.
Yeah, we agree with that. We've been talking about that for years here.
Yeah.
But I think we've been satisfied with the current numbers. We're not looking to, like, that's a problem that's been addressed for the last couple of years. And all the boards, not just this one, has thought that the class sizes were appropriate. We keep
Right.
asking those questions, and no one ever said, that's too low for that class, cut it. So we've kind of discussed this
Yep.
a lot.
But there's been a decline in enrollment, so we're just addressing that.
Well, I think also there's a difference, to my mind, and others may disagree with me, between electives that are not really electives and electives that are truly electives, even though legally and technically both may be electives. For instance, I would consider AP Calculus to not really be an elective because you want to have it offered for kids to be competitive for college, whereas there may be another course that is interesting and, rich educationally, but doesn't have the same long-term impact or heft. So are you distinguishing between electives in that way? Do you consider an AP class the same type of elective as any other type of elective, or is there a hierarchy for you?
The state defines what electives are. They define what's required to graduate from high school. We're trying to do the best we can for kids, but if that particular elective you mentioned only has one kid in it, there might be alternatives that we can do. Some of the best universities in the world are going into not asynchronous, but also synchronous learning, and that's an option. So that the child in that class can have other kids in the class that may be remote, but remote learning is not necessarily a four-letter word. A lot of the universities around the world are doing it. We did it through COVID. Maybe it wasn't the greatest, but it's been improved. The model's been improved over the years. And when you have a series of electives that way, it could be dealt more efficiently, and especially if you have a learning lab where there's multiple kids in there and one of the products is through BOCES and promoted by BOCES. It's called EduSeer. And that is a very effective way to run some of the classes. If you have one child, having one teacher to one child, I just don't know how we can support that. It doesn't make
How
any
many
sense.
electives this past year had one kid in it?
I think the average is 1.3?
No, but in the classroom.
Jared?
Because
The average, yeah, the
No, I'm not
actual
talking
average,
about the
isn't it 1.3 that we have?
But we have multiple electives being taught at the same time in the same classroom.
Yeah.
I'm asking the classroom, what's the smallest? It's not, we don't have any one room classrooms, one child
I
classrooms.
don't know that that's not true. I don't believe that's true. Jared, do you have those facts and figures?
I'd have to look back at the course selection. I think the issue for next year is there's, the two trains heading towards each other on the enrollment number versus the courses that we're looking to offer versus our budget constraints.
And not only that, but when you take into consideration, as I mentioned before, our graduating class will be five or six. The senior class next year will be 5 or 6 students. The junior class is going to be about 15. And of that 20 or 21 kids, 7 of them are going to be spending half a day at BOCES. So these are things that we really have to look at. And it does-
I agree. I am
on the face of
against.
it, Gary, on the face of it, you're cutting the electives sounds awful. But when you don't have the students to support the classes, it doesn't make sense.
But I think the board has to be reminded what Bronwyn mentioned, and the public should be reminded that a lot of our electives are AP Calculus, AP English, AP this, AP that. I am against having one child, one student, or less in a classroom. That's like saying we shouldn't have classes with 0. We don't. I'm talking about classrooms, because sometimes multiple classes are taught at the same time in the same classroom. I'm against 0 child in a classroom with a teacher. I'm against 1 child in a class with a teacher. If that's happening for one specific class, because someone is hoping to get into MIT, I'm actually okay with that one example. But it's not rampant. I don't want to get the public to think that half of our classes have a single student in it.
Well,
Is there not-
we
sorry,
do have a
Rick,
lot of
something, Rick?
classes that are below the board's policy of, was
Is
it
it-
5?
Isn't 5, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That the board has a policy, under 5, we cannot hold a class.
So we already have that
Isn't that
policy
correct?
then. Why do we have classes?
should not be having these classes.
There's consideration given.
Yeah, there was an exception made this year because of the that science situation where we had, we needed to have a 6th, what is it called? Like the 6th period? Yeah, so we had a situation this year where we had to make an exception. It's not the norm.
Right, because I think we're talking about this, like the public is going to be watching this thinking half our classes, it's one-on-one. Or
That's not
zero students with a teacher sitting there doing nothing. If we're talking about an average of 1 or less, that's not what's happening in this school.
Agreed, and Gary, I also don't want them walking away with the idea that we're collapsing all because we're not.
Right.
We're not getting rid of all the electives. I'm just suggesting that there may be more effective, efficient ways to offer them. We're not saying the kids can't have it. We have to look at effective ways like we're doing with the staffing. How can we offer these services? How can we offer these programs in a different way? We have to change because of the situation that we're currently in, like you mentioned before.
Exactly.
Jeff, I had asked for you to reach out to BOCES to ask about data that they have collected regarding the efficacy of their online classes and percentage of pass rates for regents or AP scores. Have you received that information back?
No, and as soon as I do, I will make sure that the board has it. I will get that for you.
Have you talked to that lady?
I haven't had a chance yet to talk
Okay.
to her, but I've spoken to other DSs about the various other matters we're dealing with, but I'll get that EduSeer information from you. This has been an enormous task, getting this done in this short span of time.
You're going to have a lot of time once the budget passes. What are you going to do with all your spare time?
In 5 years, I can't remember any spare time here.
So there was a, recommendation made to reduce the gym classes or combine the gym classes into,
Yeah.
as well as the music. What would that, and you said that the teachers would, the minutes in class would get added back into like the primary subject areas. What would that look like on paper? Like what would that look like? Like how
Oh,
many?
we would combine some of the grades together in a PE class? Is that what you're
Right,
referring
so
to?
like a first grade teacher, how would their daily routine change? And is it, as terms of how much teaching time they have, and does that fit within their contract?
Oh, yeah, I don't think there's a problem with the contract, but I think there'd be more kids participating in a gym class. I think it would be a good thing.
But if you were to take away a special, and maybe I'm not explaining it well. So with this, the STEM special, I think it was part of that. It wasn't really the reducing the gym. It was more what would happen if you took away the STEM special. You were talking about it actually would have a benefit because the kids would have more, more time learning their math and ELA. And you would add, there would
More
be
core
more
classroom
core
time.
classroom
That's
time.
right,
So
yeah.
what would that look like? And is that violating any contracts?
No, typically in a school district, secondary teachers teach 5 classes, and in elementary they teach 6. And in our elementary school, they were getting 2 full preps, but the contract says they get 1 full prep in a 25-minute period. But we have been giving 2 full preps. So what we want to do is we want to, take not the whole amount of time. We'll do probably about a half hour, and add that back to core instructional time.
Okay. But wasn't there, well, another thing on the teacher's proposal that I liked, and we've been batting around the idea of STEM and keeping our STEM certification. With one of the retirements this year, our STEM advisor, were we going to still have that stipend for a STEM advisor? And I think you advised that we should keep that.
Yes.
And we should have an engineering club or something comparable, because that's, Mr. Margada said that's required to maintain your certification. But then in part of the proposal that the teachers sent to us, I think they gave a very strong case for the STEM curriculum at GGM. And I'm one of these people, if you're going to do it, let's do it right. And I didn't know exactly what the STEM curriculum in GGM has been this past year, but if that's what's been happening and we're buying into STEM, I think we should keep it.
Well, the advice of our STEM advisor is to do what we're doing, do it more in the classrooms, and given what we're going through right now, the best thing to do is what we're recommending to you. And I asked him, he couldn't be here personally tonight, but Mr. Margada said that he'd be available by phone, so we can certainly ask him directly. He's the expert in this area. He would be the best one to tell you about the STEM program and what we're proposing.
Well, there's $5,000 difference between the administration savings and the teacher proposal savings. And I go back to this amount on conferences and professional development of $48,000, of which we were told in the last meeting $13,000 would be a more likely savings. Can we not come up with $5,000 more in that line and keep the STEM program whole and the proposals that have been made?
Well, if we're able to cut that, I wouldn't add it to anywhere. I would try to make this budget balance. That's what I would do.
Is there another way that we could supplement the STEM curriculum rather than have a special? But is there other ways, whether it's a club or is there anything in the teacher's contract that would allow them to be able to do events, something, not so that we don't fully take away, we don't totally, we infuse it into the classroom, but that we also have maybe monthly events where they do get to do those very specialized activities with the robotics, similar to what Miss Kay did, so that we're not, we're taking away not just, the special plus everything else, but we have to keep some of the, those special types of things that Miss Kay did, or create new ones, so that we're not completely taking it away. Because you know what I mean? I hear what the teacher's argument was, that there are, yes, we should have it infused in the classroom, but there are very specific things that you can't duplicate in the classroom. So maybe there's another way to achieve that that wouldn't cost as much as having a STEM special teacher, whether it's through something that's maybe there's contractual time that they teachers need to be able to need to do an activity outside of classroom time. Maybe we can look at that, or I don't know. But can you think about?
I think the best thing to do is to really embody it in the classroom, which we haven't fully done. We start from there, especially as we say we're in a transition year. So let's get it deeply into the classrooms, and then in the future we can look to that.
100%. But like, what about coding? Like, they're not going to be doing coding in the classroom. That's something very specific that you
They
would
have to learn.
in the
We have to
not
write that.
in ELA, not in math. They're not going to be doing coding. Like, that's something very specific that Ms. K would do with them. So is there another way that we can be able to let them experience that?
My kids love STEM. It's their favorite class. It's the thing that they look
Right.
forward to the most. And it is absolutely immersive
Right.
when they're in there. So part and parceling that thing out, I'm going to tell you just from what I get at home at the kitchen table, I don't think it's a great model. Will it work for a year? Absolutely. You know, but should we be looking to get this thing put back together again? Absolutely.
So someone today was telling me about their child in 7th grade at a different school, whose history class involved STEM engineering in the class, and
Yeah, it
that's how the world's going. We have to have AI at a top level here, robotics, coding, 3D printing, as Mr. Chan was explaining in his letter. I think these are critical to today's environment, academically and practically. This is where the jobs are going to be.
Well, again, we strongly recommend, based upon our STEM advisor's recommendation, that we pare back right now and we make sure that we fully implement in the classroom. And then we can, if we want to expand it in the future, we certainly can. But remember what we're trying to do here. We're trying to avert a contingency budget, and then we'll have to be back at this table trying to find $1,900,000. So those are good suggestions, and believe me, if I could give the kids every possible thing we could, I would. But we lived in a bounded reality, and we've got to make some tough decisions. And we're not eliminating the position. It is an attrition. It's a retired 6th grade teacher, and we're moving this special teacher into a classroom. So for right now, I think this is the best move for the district. And that's my recommendation.
Other thoughts on this list or this chart? This new list?
Also, along the TTA discussion earlier, it's worth mentioning that they also provide, with Mr. Chan's letter, 58,000 of savings through supplies.
Yep. And as Jeff said, that's
district
district stuff, but
correct.
they went through teacher by teacher and said, this is what you're supposed to get. This is what you've gotten. This is what you've got in the past. For 1 year, how little could you use? And they were
Right.
frank. So it might hurt some of the stuff they do, and I'm presuming a lot of them are going to be buying their own supplies. But was their suggestion of cutting back their normal allotment in the past couple of years.
Right, and let's not forget the administrators have done, the administrators have done the same thing.
Yeah.
They have cut things as well, so it's not one group or another doing this, it's trying to be done collectively. So I
we
don't think
shouldn't-
it's fair to call one group out over another. I think everyone's trying to pull together. And I
Cut
gotta
the
tell
water.
you, these 3 people over here at this table, the hours they've been putting in and the work, it's been amazing.
So
It's-
I have a question. One of the still under considerations is freezing step or freezing raises to the TTA, and I'm assuming that that's part of an ongoing bargaining process.
Well, that was one of the things that the school attorney we spoke with.
Right.
So there's a proposal.
There's a proposal.
So we
I'm
can't
wondering.
really talk about it in any
okay.
depth because that would be the negotiating.
That's fine.
phase.
But then are we also considering freezing raises for admin positions as well?
Well, if that happened with the teachers, we would do something comparable as well.
Okay.
We would consider that.
Okay. So if that negotiation is successful, then we can also expect that there will be freezes to the admin raises?
Well, you really don't have many admin left.
Okay, I know there's not many left, but you know, as you say, every bit counts. And if we're talking about taking away or, you know, reducing the availability of certain hands-on STEM activities, or
I
I mean,
think-
and I know that it's going to be integrated into the classroom, but I think that what Susan and what people have described is that there are some things that are done in the special that maybe won't be replicated in the classroom, so there will be a difference. And so I just want, you know, as we're discussing these things that are going to directly impact students, I just want to make sure that raises, and I'm not saying that our administrators don't work incredibly hard and don't deserve raises, but if freezing raises is part of the TTA negotiation, I'm very pleased to hear that it's also part of the
Sure.
administration is going to do the same.
But it should be equitable. You know, for example, this year, everybody got a raise, except the management and confidential folks. So, you know, it's not fair to them. So if there is any reduction in salary, I think it should be equitable across the board.
Of course.
It shouldn't be target this group, or this one doesn't get it, or.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that.
Yeah.
It's just nice to see. It's nice to know that if this is being considered, it's being considered across the
Yeah.
board, like you said, equitably, so that the
Right.
different parties are all.
And I won't want to
pitching
say to the M&C who didn't get a raise this year, they contributed to the budget, you know, also, and it would be nice because like we talked about with the, when the budget failed and we lost that tax base in perpetuity, these folks lost revenue, their income, and that's in perpetuity.
perpetuity,
So if they didn't get a raise this year, they're never going to get that back.
Although I guess there's a possibility that we could make up a raise in a couple years. We could
We look
pay
back,
it-
you can look
we
back
look back and we
historically
can make
say,
people whole for the lean years.
I would recommend that because we have some great people here, and we're talking about turnover. That would be one area to recognize them and to make them whole.
And now, of course, this board can't bind future boards, but I mean, I can at least say for myself that would be definitely, if I was on the board when, you know, the Canaan days returned and we weren't in the land of nothing, that would be something that I would consider.
Perfect.
Just going
Sam.
back to, I'm sorry. Susan, you wanna-
No, I agree. I would want
Right.
to, you know, really keep track of this so that we could pay them back in the
We
future.
want, I would like to do that altruistically, but to be honest, I want to do that selfishly because our great staff and teachers, I want to be competitive and I want them to be here. I don't want it to be of economic detriment for them to want to stay here.
So going back, just to rewind the conversation, we've hit this a couple of times, Jeff, but the budget defeat cost the district how much into perpetuity? We figured that to be over 250. Is that
$250,000. Yeah, this year it's 350, but due to the carryover, it would be 250 in perpetuity. Unless, of course, you raise taxes a significant amount to make it up, like an individual's raise. If you doubled up the following year, you know, considering compounding, would be the same. It's the same idea.
But you're not gonna, we can't be doing that to the taxpayers. It's just, you know, it is what it is. But the point is that the zero that we got last year or this year, you know, is gonna carry forward into perpetuity.
That's
and-
correct. Yeah.
And the number is $250,000.
Right. That's why I
So-
strongly recommend, you know, we can't afford another budget defeat.
Then again, we can't handicap ourselves to the point where
So
we're not gonna be offering a competitive product.
I think we are. I think we still are.
Okay, so I asked Walter to run a quick calculation. So I took the proposal here. I added back in the guidance counselor because I don't.
That's not taken out. You have to look at the look under the column called final number. If there's no number in there, then it's not a cut. We left the captions to the right because that was a previous,
Okay, so I misunderstood. When I said if all of these are included, I was thinking
where
that
there's a
all
number.
of these were included.
Yeah, where there's a dollar amount.
Where
That's
there's a number in the in the
final
column
number.
final. Okay,
yes.
I thought if there was a number in any of these three columns, it counted.
No.
Okay,
This-
okay,
The
okay.
savings, the cost to continue draft, that was the first one. Okay, and then my
see.
recommendation last week was the second column, and then based upon conversations that we've had, we left the captions and we just took out
I
the
got
dollar
you.
amounts.
Okay, so
Does
stay
everyone follow
tuned.
that now?
We're
So
getting a
that's-
new
so
number.
That's 63 is the
Yeah,
difference, right,
so
okay.
BRB.
We're using our human calculator. For those watching, our board members are reaching out, physically walking over to our business administrator, Walter Kaufman, to run numbers. Since it's all off camera. So we need a minute, you need a minute? Okay.
Yeah, so just trying to
can
figure
still
out what
explain-
some various, well, I
you
gave him
could-
my sheet, so,
Oh.
but I can look at your sheet. So we're just trying to figure out what some various tax rates would be, because we've got one proposal here, which is like 2.93, right? And then I was just curious what the rate would be if we did not cut the roughly $19,000 in clubs, after hearing from the principal and from board members and talking to parents about the impact that might have on, particularly on the middle school population. And so that is the calculation that Walter is currently doing, just to see what that tax rate would be.
Well, also too, remember that this is based not when we started this conversation 2-3 weeks ago when we started submitting, we were using a $500,000 fund balance.
Right, and so this would be keeping the 380 fund balance,
Right,
but
so-
adding back in that roughly $20,000 in
Do you wanna throw
activities and
$20,000
clubs.
of fund balance back into it?
Well, I mean, I just want to see what the tax rate, what the number comes out. And then also, if I'm understanding correctly, Jeff, when it says still under consideration, that means we might get, I mean, none of these might work out, right?
Yep.
So none of these might come through, but some of these might come through. Like we still might get some movement on some various things that are under negotiation with the various unions.
Some of them are highly likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you,
I don't want.
we can't talk about it because it's
Yeah,
subject of active
yeah.
negotiation. Okay.
But some of them are highly likely, and that's why I say, at the end of the day, if we can come to a number, we do have money in fund balance. So if we don't meet the expenditures, we can always reduce that. But I think we have to have a number tonight to prepare it's going to take Walter quite a bit of time to prepare the property tax report card to have for you tomorrow night. So we can't do it tomorrow night. We have to do it tonight so he can have it ready for tomorrow night. And even with that, he's going to be working around the clock.
I think we're about to have our proposal.
So if we come to a number, we still have these other things. We do have a little bit of time. As I said, we have until the 30th for the line item budgets. After that, we can always do budget transfers.
So the critical point is to get to the rate tonight.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that'd be the
I just- Thank you.
Walter, why are you sweating?
Here he comes.
This guy never sweats. He's smiling all the time.
All right, so Walter calculated a tax rate of 3.45%.
How much were you adding in?
So what I
She's gonna
did,
go through her math.
yeah,
Just
what
give
I,
me a total number if you would.
okay, the number I have, and we should double check my math, is 873,456.
Bear with me a second.
Because what I did, and let me just double check it, is take your 893, 321, 36 and subtract out 21. 464. Actually, that gets us to 871.
How much are the total additions you want to do?
So what I did, Jeff, and you can check my math, right? It's not my strong suit. Is I added up this stuff.
The
Yep.
merged
The from
honor
from
society
here
to the bottom.
on.
Yeah,
Okay.
but is
so
it-
what
And I
number did you
kept
come up with?
out the chess gaming club, and I came to 21,464. So, but let me double check. You guys should all be checking and doing these calculations too.
And Walter told you how much?
Walter told me, but I may have given him slightly a wrong number because now that I'm doing the subtraction again, I'm getting a different number. For a budget of 873,456, sorry, for savings, for cuts of 873,456, the tax rate would be 3.45%.
That sounds very high still. That sounds high.
Yeah, you told me you just added 21,464, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's that would be expenditure of 15,825,841, and that would be a tax rate of 3.09.
3.09. Okay, that makes more sense. Because you said you thought it would be about 3.1.
Yeah, if you're just adding 21,464 to the total expenditures,
That
you'd
gets
have a tax rate of 3.09, roughly.
okay.
So what I might suggest is I would try to keep it under 3%. I really want to make sure this passes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where we go with some of these proposals, which hopefully we'll have by the end of the week. The end of the week is what day? The 20, what's that, the 26th or 27th? Friday? 24th, forgive me. Oh, okay, so we have to the 30th, really, to get the line by line. So we have a week and a half to get some of these things done. So I recommend that you consider no more than 2.9. Keep the fund balance where it is. If the bottom falls out, we can take money out of the fund balance to keep the rate if none of these other savings transpire. So I really wouldn't recommend adding too much more. And as far as the clubs are concerned, there is a proposal which I can't discuss, but it might solve some problems. I'll just leave you at that. How's
Okay.
that?
I guess so. I hear you with the 2.9. I'm wondering if we're being a little conservative and if there may be support in the community for a rate in the low threes, and I don't want to cut more and not give ourselves room. I think from what I hear from Jean-Michel, there's definitely a contingent that's saying 0. That's almost like a position that's very difficult to engage with because it's so extreme. But then I'm wondering between sort of 2.9 and 3.1 or 3.2, does that provide, I mean, what do you think of the differences there? If the public would support a rate in the low threes and it would allow us to preserve some things that are student facing and really important for the kids, does it make sense to try for that? And then if people say no, we have a fallback to cut some additional things that we've discussed that are painful, that aren't ideal, but that's just my thought.
You mean in a revote?
In a revote, yeah.
Bronwyn, I'd like to say that I spoke to some people today specifically with that 3.1 target
Yeah.
who said no. That would be too high, way too high for that.
I spoke to some people today about the 3.1 also. They said it was way too low.
And they said way too low.
Okay,
Jeff,
well,
just
then,
out
why
of
don't you
curiosity,
take it
could-
from why don't you take it from your terrified superintendent who's terrified of a budget defeat?
Actually, that's exactly where I wanted to go, Jeff. Can you kind of frame this for us again for the public? What if this budget goes down? What are we looking at? We're going to have to come back to the drawing board here. And how much more on top of this? The 873 are we gonna?
Well, your 19,000 that you're talking about, you're going to have to add a few zeros to that.
Few zeros.
It's
So
going to be
we're looking at $1
$1.9 million. So,
So we got to find $1 million.
when it comes to kids in education, I don't like to take too many chances.
I understand. Now, just because, I mean, the shock of this happening last year was, significant. But it's not really until the following budget year that you really get the meat and potatoes of what's happened, 8, 9, 10, 12 months before. So what would this session look like next year if we actually were able to find $1 million in savings on top of what we just did?
You'd be looking at a very different school district, and you wouldn't be discussing which club could we add back. We wouldn't have any clubs.
So in essence,
Well,
what
just to be clear, I think ballpark, if we cut every club and every sports and every elective, every AP class, source out psychologists, do all of that stuff, we only got to come up with another $500,000.
okay. So
Another, like everything that we've already cut,
it's an
cutting everything I
Gary,
just mentioned, we're still about a
So
$500,000
the public
short.
needs to understand the gravity of this budget that we're going to be proposing. So it's incredibly important for the school board, for the community, to embrace the fact that if this budget goes down, we're going to be looking at a very different school district.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that $15 million, that level, or is it even lower
You
than that?
want to know how much $15 million
Yeah, what
would,
do we-
would be?
from the example you just gave, is that the $15 million level?
That's
'Cause people are suggesting 15. I'm curious.
I don't know.
what
I
does
don't know where
look
that.
like?
I don't qualify that number. That's a random number that people are saying. Like bread used to cost $1, and now it's more. Like that. That's a complete insignificant number. People are just throwing out numbers. All that
Yeah,
matters is
it's
all that matters is items in the budget that's cut or not cut, and the tax rate.
Well, Jean-Michel, I have a question for you. You said people were not in favor of 3.1. Were those people, would they be in favor of 2.9, or would they not support that
I
either?
think more likely, yes, under 3.
Okay.
Yes, this is a different group than the group saying 0.
Uh-huh.
oh, okay.
So I would suggest 2.9 or less, and let's get out there and really talk to the community.
So do we?
I'd be willing
have
to
a
try
motion?
for 3s if you wanted to try it.
Well, I think less than 2.9 is going to be really very tricky because what you have proposed here is 2.93. So why don't we just stick around where you're proposing?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think we'll try to get more additional expenditure reductions, and we can look at possibly adding some of the things back that you might want, and balancing it such a way, we still have to find 50,000, maybe we find the 50 and we're able to put some things back, but if I really think you should stick with this plan right now. I don't feel that if you go over 2.9, knowing this community that the way I do with its taxes and its tax rates, I just don't want to chance it.
So, Jeff, I have a question for you. Knowing that 2.9 is pretty bare bones, and what we're looking to do is, all of a sudden become fiscally responsible after 5 years of, having, anemic tax rate increases. And how would you propose to the community that next year we're going to need to get back to having, things that are a little closer to the inflation mark?
So next year, I'm hoping if we're able to get some information, I'd like to put up a 5-year plan and say this is where we're going to be for the next 5 years. But remember that even in a 5-year plan, you do a rolling plan. So when the next year comes, you drop the old year off, you keep rolling it. After 3 years, they get a little stale, but you still do a 5-year plan. And we'll hopefully have a much better picture of where we're going to be, and that will help sell the budget. Because people, if they see that there's a path, there's a plan, they could say, oh, all right, all I want to do is tighten my belt this year, but next year is going to be a good year.
Because what we're really looking to do, again, as we have been for the past couple of years, is now we have a little bit more clarity on what's coming in from the development. So this 5-year plan is going to be based on the build-out and the development.
Right. When we first started this 5 years ago, or at least I did, We were told it was happening, the next year or whatever, and it didn't happen. But now it's happening. It's a tangible thing. You can drive up there and see it. So, to answer your question, I would have a 5-year plan, and I would tell people we want a top 100 school. That's what we've been working on for the last 5 years. We're going to get there and develop a plan to show them how we're going to do it.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's very clear that prior boards eventually made some mistakes with the timing and missed the mark, but it's nobody's fault because the information at that time, I'm going back to the boards 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Which we were on.
Right. The information at the time was
Yeah, I
that
voted for a
this
budget
was
standard.
imminent.
Yeah.
People are still out there saying it could happen again. No. People are buying houses. People are moving in. It's no longer of if and when, it's happening now. So I don't blame the prior boards because based on the information, we were cutting things too close, had deficit spending budgets, we're burning through our savings because we knew help was coming. Nobody realized the help was going to be 3 years later than we thought. But now the help is here.
So I just want to.
Decisions were made at the best information at that time.
Agreed.
So just, we've gone over this, but I just want to make sure that I understand. So if we go ahead with as things are proposed here, this budget will be spending less in fund balance than has been spent in the past 5 years.
Longer than
I
that.
think a lot longer.
Lot-
Okay, at least the last 5 years. So if anybody says that there was not, that fund balance was not used prior to this year or was not used at a significant scale prior to this year, that statement would be incorrect?
We've been using fund balance, yes.
We've been using more fund balance in previous years.
So this would be a reduction in the use of fund balance. This would be a more fiscally responsible stewardship of the fund balance than has been done last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years
And
ago.
this year's 690, so this would be $310,000 less than
Right,
that.
okay.
So we're cutting
For,
it.
for people listening, we're basically talking about like the for lack of a better term, the district's savings account.
Yeah, and correct. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. Okay, Bronwyn, just the use of fund balance this year is a very sticky situation because we're in austerity.
Right, I think this year is a
This year
strange
is an
circumstance,
anomaly,
but so
so-
sort of setting it aside and looking at the history, the trajectory, excluding this year
If you
to find
went
a pattern.
backward, excluding this year, you would find that we are slowly but surely doing what was probably in our best interest to do years ago.
So with that,
I want to go to executive session as per Susan's request a long time ago, but I don't want to go into an executive session until somebody proposes a number which we can second and then discuss in detail for the rest of the night.
how about 2.93?
If you were a member of the board, you could do that.
How about 2.93?
How about 2.93? I'll say it again.
How about 2.95? I raise, yeah.
2.96.
I mean, sure. It's ultimately now we're talking about not a ton of money, but I just don't want if there's no meaningful difference if the community says under 3 and 2.93 is under 3 and 2.95 is under 3, why would we tie our hands if it means keeping a Safe Schools Ambassador program?
We're 3%.
So somebody raise your hand and make an official proposal. Jean-Michel,
2.93.
2.93 is the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We're not going to vote on it because we're going to ask for, now we can discuss this. So is there a motion to table this discussion and go to executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll be back. It is now. What time is it? It is 9:14. We will definitely take action when we return tonight because we have to.
Are we limiting our time so we can, because our business official's got to get a good night rest, but I want him to hear the final numbers so he can hit the ground running in the morning.
I'm the guy with the optimistic, but I no promises tonight. We could be here for a long time or not. No promises tonight. Good evening, everybody. We're back from executive session. It is 11 o'clock. Do I have a motion to return officially from executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We had motions on the table, but none were seconded. Do I have a motion for this board to direct Walter Kaufman, the business administrator, to prepare the proper tax forms, including the report card, for approval tomorrow night at an expenditure rate of $15,805,877? Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. There is a meeting tomorrow night where more budget items will be discussed, specifically more on the expenditures, and we'll have the report card prepared for public presentation.